welcome back to my channel. So today I wanted to talk to you about the Color Wheel Blush Palette by Tarte. This is a brand new limited edition holiday palette. So if you're interested in hearing my thoughts about this palette and seeing swatches, then just keep on watching. So this blush palette was just released by Tarte. It originally came out on the Tarte website. Right now it says it's out of stock on the Tarte site. They did say on Instagram that it's not going to be available on the site again and it's just going to be limited to Sephora. So it is available at Sephora and it is in stock at Sephora. And this retails for $44 on the Sephora site. And this is the packaging the palette comes in, and it does say Holiday 2016, but it doesn't have like any holiday related packaging to it, so it might be permanent. I know it says limited edition, but Tarte is notorious for saying their circle palettes are limited edition. Like this one was supposed to be limited edition. I got it in 2014. It's still available, and so are all of my circle palettes. I am addicted to collecting these. They're just like the chocolate bar palettes for me. I need to have all of the circle palettes, and these are all the same size. So if you have any of the circle palettes, they are all the exact same size. The difference is that this palette, the blush palette, has product on both sides, and all of the other Tarte Circle palettes just have product on one side. So you're getting a ton more product in this blush palette. So before I get into the swatches, I want to let you guys know how much product you're getting. So you're getting 10 products, you're getting 8 blushes and 2 highlighters. And you can see that this whole side is more like of neutral fall colors, and this whole side has more like spring, summer, brighter colors. And you could definitely like mix and match things together. I wrote down how much product you're getting in this palette, and basically you're getting the amount of product in 4 full-size blushes. I do not own a full-size blush. I just have them in holiday kits and in the circle palettes that I showed you guys. But you're getting the same amount of product as 4 circle blushes. It's actually 4.2 circle blushes for the price. Each circle blush is $28 and this whole palette is $44. On the Tarte site, it says it's a $150 value. I'm not sure where they got that number, or if maybe they added like the packaging detail and it just like tacked onto the price. So in case you guys are curious about the exact value of this palette compared to the full-size blushes, I did write it all out and I did the math for you guys. So in each of these 10 pans, you're getting 0.04 ounces, and then in a full-size $28 Tarte blush, it's 0.2 ounces. So you end up getting 4.2 full-size blushes, and 4.2 times $28, that's $117.60. So this is $117.60 in terms of product. Tarte says it's a $150 value. I'll give it to them for that, but it's definitely worth a lot more than $100, and you're paying $44. So basically you're paying the price of 1.5 full-size blushes, but you're getting 4.2 full-size blushes. So it's definitely an awesome value. It's worth well over $100, and I think it is really worth the price. So I know there's a lot of concern sometimes with limited edition kits and holiday palettes in terms of the formula. And like I said, I don't own one of the Tarte full-size blushes, but I see no difference between the blushes in this and the other Tarte collections that I have. I don't find these powdery at all. When you do put your blush in them, they do give a little bit of kick up, but when I like go to swatch it, it's super creamy. It's super buttery, and I am going to swatch them all, but just so you guys know, I don't feel any powder residue, and I hate that feeling, and I hate the feeling of like powder sitting on my face. So it kind of melts right into my skin when I apply it, and actually I have to go in with a pretty light hand because these are actually super pigmented. So I went in to apply it like I apply any other blush that I have, and then every time I've applied it, I do actually have to go in with my stippling brush and like dust it away because it's a super pigmented product. So the quality and value is definitely there with this palette. I also wanted to show you guys with a blush brush, you're not going to be picking up extra product. To me, that's like my biggest pet peeve, is like when my makeup mixes, or just with anything in life. Like I don't like my potatoes like mixing with vegetables when I eat. Like it just bothers me. So if I go like this, I don't want to get any other blush. I just want to get that one product. So this is actually a pretty good size. You're not going to like double dip by accident and just make it messy. So even though the blushes are small, it's still big enough to fit your whole brush in there and not mix with anything else. I think there's enough space in between all of these two. They're not like right on top of each other, which I really like because I don't like getting all my products mixed up and messy. So if that's something you guys are like meticulous about like me, then you will be happy with that as well. So I'm going to go ahead into the swatches of the blushes and highlights, and I'm going to start with the warmer side, and I'm going to start with the highlight and then just go down and around. So starting with this highlight, this is the shade Crafty, and this is the lighter highlight. So this is just one swipe, and this is just a light champagne color. If you're fair, this will show up very well. If you're more medium or dark, it might not show up as well. And then the next shade is Concept, which is like a nudie blush. I believe, no, I'm not wearing this one. I'm wearing the one next to it. They're very similar. So this is like a peachy nudie blush that's super pretty. And then the next one is Icon, and that's what I'm wearing today. This is more of a mauvey pink blush, and that is super pigmented. Next we have Montage. If you have more of a deep skin tone, this will be a beautiful brush because it is so pigmented and it's darker. And so will Iconic, which is this last shade up here. That is more pink and it has some plum to it as well. So there you guys can see all of the blushes in the top half of the palette. You can see they're super pigmented and they applied very easily. They didn't apply patchy at all. I'm going to keep the swatches on as I go on with the rest of the palette so you could just compare the top and bottom half of the palette. So I'm just going to flip this around and do the same thing. I'm going to start with a highlight and then go down and around. So the highlight I have on the darker side is called Idol. And this is what I have on my cheekbones. I have Benefit High Beam, and then I put this on top. This is more like a coppery gold color. So this is just one swipe of Idol, and both of the highlights are pretty fair. And this is just one swipe. I just want to show you guys what one swipe is. Of course, you could build it up. And then next we have Culture, which is more of a shimmery coral blush. It has like flecks of gold in it. So this shade is definitely a lot more light and more satin. And then we have Surreal, which is more like a hot pink color. And this also has a more lighter finish to it. So that is very light. It's definitely not as pigmented as the other blushes. And then we have Deco, which is more of like a hot peachy color. It has pink in it as well. So this is Deco. It has more of a peachy color to it, and it is very light, but I don't know that I would want it to be any more pigmented for such a bright color. And then my favorite, I think, from this side is Mod, which has more of a nude shade to it. And that one is actually a bit more pigmented than some of these brighter colors. So I would say I'm definitely going to gravitate towards this whole side. Like, pretty much everything on this side I would wear on a daily basis. I probably wouldn't go so much for these three blushes. These are the ones that are the least pigmented, but I never wear a hot pink blush or like a really bright coral blush. So I can definitely just do without these three blushes. And then this shade is probably my favorite from this side. And the highlighters are very light. They're definitely not as pigmented as like Anastasia highlighters. But this is one of those highlighters that I like to apply like as a really light base highlighter or down the center of my face. I've applied both of these over the past couple days down the center of my face. I think I'm wearing Crafty down the center of my face today. So in terms of the finishes, all of the blushes on the top side, the warmer side, I guess either side can be the top side, but the warmer side, they are all matte, and of course the highlight is a shimmer. And then on the other side, the side that has more of the fun or brighter colors, these three are more like a luster finish. They're a little bit satin. You can't really see shimmer, but they're definitely not matte. This color Culture is more of a shimmer, and I think that's the one that showed up the least pigmented. I mean, but that's still pretty bright to me. I mean, it probably doesn't look super bright on camera, but I just don't want to wear something so pigmented on my cheeks. So those are more shimmery colors, and then of course the other highlight is a shimmer color as well. And I am going to zoom you guys in real quick so you can see a close-up of all of these swatches just as is. I don't want to build them up more. I just want you guys to see how, if you were to apply it really quickly, what they would actually look like. Alright guys, so here's a close-up of all of the swatches, and I know they look pretty light, but trust me, they are not that light, and they are actually super pigmented. The matte shades are definitely very, very pigmented, and they are sticking to my arm. Like if I try to rub it away, it stays there a lot better than like one of the satin shades. I feel like those are slightly more powdery than the matte shades, but I prefer the matte shades, so I've actually been using the matte shades over everything else in this palette for the past couple days. So I think everything is pretty pigmented. These look so light on camera. Trust me, they are not as light, or like they look kind of washed out, but they are not that washed out in person, and these are actually even more pigmented in person. So I think they are all very pigmented. I will say that the matte shades have a better finish to them than the satin shades. They are a little bit less powdery. I feel like with any satin or shimmery shade, you're going to get other textures with having shimmer or glitter in there. It's not one consistent texture. You have like the shimmer that kind of breaks it apart a little bit more. I find that with a lot of products, so I usually prefer matte blushes for that reason. So those are all the swatches in this palette. I am super impressed with it. I love this side, and when I went into buying it, I knew that I was mostly going to use the neutral side. And like I said, if you like super bright blushes like these colors, they are fairly light. They do swatch light. And also, I swatched everything with a very light hand. Like I didn't dig in and swatch. I just went in like super light and just swatched it. So because I know that's how I would apply it with a brush. I'm not going to go in and just spend like 5 minutes trying to build up a color. I want you guys to see how it just applies right off the bat. So all of these swatches are very light. I didn't like dig through the palette to get them built up. So if you need electric pink blushes to be super pigmented, then you might be disappointed by these. But if you just want to play with a pop of color and have it not be so bold, then these are awesome. And I love all the nude shades in here. If you guys watch any of my tutorials, you know I wear Benefit Dallas and Rocket Shore. Those are like the only blushes I wear, and those are basically like these kind of shades. So I am getting a lot of options with this palette. It's definitely worth the price to me to pay the price of 1.5 full-size blushes, but still get 10 blush options and highlighter options. I think you're getting a really good selection. I don't need more colors than this in my collection, so I am very happy with the whole selection of colors. So that's everything for this video, guys. I hope you enjoyed seeing my review of the Tarte Color Wheel palette. And I'm not sure if I mentioned it, but the blushes in here are actually limited edition. That might be a hit or miss for you, some of you guys, if you only like to get things that are permanent. For things like blushes, I don't really mind so much because I don't think that the colors on the limited edition blushes are going to be that different than the colors in just a permanent blush, because you're not really going to be able to see a difference in like pictures and stuff. So I don't mind that the colors are actually limited edition. So if you'd like to see how I use this palette, just make sure you're also following me on Instagram. I did film a few face tutorials using this palette, and I'll be posting them throughout the week. I'll also post a tutorial using this palette here on YouTube as well. So make sure you're checking out all my social media links, which will be in my description bar. I'll also have a few open giveaways in my description bar as well. So make sure you're just checking that out for all the details. And make sure you're giving this video a thumbs up if you liked it, and subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. And I'll talk to you guys soon in my next video. Thank you so much for watching. Bye.